there, Jim here. So suppose you happen to come across or get a battery pack. This is happens to be a battery pack. It says that it's rated at 2600 milliamp hours, but you know, there are a lot of these things floating around, and they're not always accurate. They're not always, let's say, completely upfront about the capacity. So suppose you get one of these battery packs, and you know, this is one that I picked up at a trade show, and you want to see what the capacity really is. Well, what you need is one of these devices. So this one happens to be called a ZK FX35, and it's an electronic load. This one will put a up to a 35 watt load on a pack. It can connect with two you know, plus minus, or it can use a USB input, and essentially this will put a load on a device, like I say, a load up to 35 watts, and then it'll run until the device falls below a voltage, which you can configure. And then once it drops below that voltage, you know that the pack's exhausted, and it keeps track of things. So here I'm going to connect this pack, and I've just got this on a cable so that I don't put too much tension on the port. You can see it's not hugely solid. So anyways, you can see right now it's showing 5 volts coming out of the pack, and I'm going to run it just for safety's sake. Well, in order to give it the best possible operation, I'm going to run it at half an amp. Okay, so it's going to run at half an amp when it's running, and then it'll show us how many watts. You'll see that in a second, and the cumulative amp hours and runtime. Okay, so let's so it's plugged in, 5 volts. I'm going to turn it on. Okay, so you can see that the run light has turned on here on the device, and let me zoom in a little. Okay, so we can see that it's now 4.9 volts and about 2.49 amps, so about 2.5 amps. And if I press the select button, you can see that since I turned it on, it's pulling 4 amp hours, and it's been running now for 40 seconds. Okay, so that's going to run. Now the unit has a fan. There's a mode. If I press this, you can see that it's right now, the temperature is 27 degrees Celsius, and you can see the temperature is creeping up slowly. That's because, of course, it's taking the energy coming out of the battery pack, and it's converting that battery pack energy into heat, more or less. It's not doing much else. And that heat is going into a heat sink here. And when it reaches a certain threshold, I think around 40 degrees Celsius, the fan turns on and it cools it off. And then it goes below a lower threshold, the fan turns off. If it's a big battery pack, it'll keep running. So that's kind of all there is to it at this point. You can see it's not going to show me the voltage now because I put it onto temperature mode, but you can see so far it's gotten what amounts to 15 milliamp hours, 16 milliamp hours, since it's calibrated in amp hours. And then this will just run, you know, so this could run for a couple hours. If this pack really is 2600 milliamp hours, it's going to run for quite a while. So we'll watch it for a little bit here, but I'm just going to, in a sense, cut the video and show you what happens at the end. Okay, I thought it might be useful to see what happens when the fan turns on, so you can see the temperature creeping up. And that's pretty much all there is to it. All right. And this is what happens when the system, the battery, the power pack falls below the minimum voltage, which means it's pretty much drained. So I'm just going to press this so it stops beeping. Whew. So it's gone below the lowest voltage, and you can see right now it's showing no volts. It's pretty much drained. And you can see that 1,814 milliamp hours, 3.5 hours. It ran at half an amp, and of course it's not running anymore. And so that is how you can figure out what the capacity is of a battery pack. But basically you need to have some sort of a load device like this that will run the battery until it's totally drained. All right, thanks for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel.